We're in game number 2. And right now, looks like Lanthier may have been able to take care of things. I see a Jace the Mind Sculptor here. He's got Azcanta going and a Detention Sphere.
Versus Bloodghast.
Yeah. At 13, Dan appears to be in control of the situation, but do have to want to look at those graveyards. Or for now, looks like this Jace just hit the table, and on Dan's side, there's a Rest in Peace hanging out in those top 3.
Yep, that is likely to be coming down in the following turn.
For Trent, a Life from the Loam Dredge puts an Archamoeba into play. Looking for a Conflagrate in the yard.
Looks like quite a few lands in the hand. I imagine the Life from the Loam has previously been cast.
The question is if he has a Conflagrate, as his graveyard, as we know, is about to get exiled away. Bloodghast to swing here will go toward the Mind Sculptor, knocking the Planeswalker down to 1. And from Trent, we are going to see a Conflagrate. How many does he want to discard is the question. Looks like 2. So 1 to the Jace, 1 to Dan. Dan will drop down to 12. And on Trent's side, going to Ghost Quarter away Dan's Colonnade. Lanthier on 6 basic lands, so going to be hard to exhaust the deck that way. And then Trent will loam back 3 lands.
I think we are actually in a point where they must be gone already.
Rest in Peace from Lanthier. That's... Okay, so this has been going on for a while.
Yeah, that seems to be the situation.
Okay.
You saw no search there. And yeah, Lanthier very light on mana sources. You know, there's 2 islands of plains and then Azcanta the Sunken Rune available for lands.
Drops down to 10. Here's a Ghost Quarter from Trent. And Dan does get an island now.
He must. It's because of the Jace the Mind Sculptor. He declined to search. That's what he had.
He liked his top card.
Floating Rest in Peace or something like that.
Right. He will be knocked off white mana for the time being. So card he has, we know, 1 Settle the Wreckage in hand. That would be his answer to the current board, but he's a ways away from that. Trent was pretty heads up on that Ghost Quarter. He goes to attack, and Dan will Cryptic Draw to tap draw. And post-draw, here's a Thoughtseize from Trent. We see another Cryptic Command. Jace the Mind Sculptor, Serum Visions, and Settle the Wreckage.
This is a really powerful spread of cards. Among them, you probably you can play around Settle the Wreckage the most easiest. So that one you probably just leave behind. And yeah, he ends up taking Cryptic Command. I like that. The Jace you can attack down as well. The Cryptic Command is the one that's easiest for Lanthier to cast and get value somehow, no matter what Osborne does.
Exactly. Trent's going to add an Archamoeba to the board. His clock increases just slightly. And Dan now will go for the Planeswalker. With 4 power against it, I'm interested to see which mode he takes. It looks like he's going to scry 1 off it.
I believe, yeah, Terminus was the pickup for this turn. He wants to track down white mana, and he would love to be able to keep this Jace the Mind Sculptor around. Yeah,
that Ghost Quarter is hurting. He would love to brainstorm, put that Terminus on top, get a white mana into play. And it looks like he'll have a chance to do it. As that attack put the Planeswalker down to 1. And Dan will use the 0 ability. If he can find a white mana source, he should be good. There's Hallowed Fountain. Though 2 life is not free on this board. So he'll put it into play tapped. That makes sense. Doesn't need it until his next draw.
Right. Bloodghast was drawn by Osborne. He knows about Settle the Wreckage. Obviously, there's only 1 white mana available, so no concerns there.
Right. Has haste.
Definitely want to attack down the Jace, and then, yeah, the rest is just going at Lanthier. He has exposed another creature to this Terminus about to come off the top.
And Dan going to miracle that Terminus. All creatures to the bottom of the deck. Dan went down to 4.
Though Osborne, because the graveyards are gone, you started to play a bunch more lands. This isn't a territory where you can conflagrate for a whole lot of damage if he draws another one of those.
Dan now starts to go to work with that Azcanta, finds a Terminus, and going to cast Serum Visions. His closers, as he's mostly out of Jace here, he has 2 Teferis, 2 Snapcaster Mage, and 2 Vendilion Click.
Looks like he scried 2 to the bottom with that Serum Visions. One of them was a copy of Negate.
Okay, so not too worried, I guess, about Conflagrate. Maelstrom Pulse from Trent, that's out of the sideboard, will take care of Rest in Peace.
Lanthier has drawn another copy, though.
Loam into the yard for Trent, yeah. And that extra copy. Here we go. Get rid of that Loam, no more dredging. And Dan has found his 3rd and final copy of Jace the Mind Sculptor, and he's going to go to work Fate Sealing. That's a win con.
Right. Don't think Osborne's going to be able to claw back into this game from here.
You're right. Seems unlikely. The ability to Azcanta while Fate Sealing your opponent seems very powerful on this board.
Saw Lyra Dawnbreaker within the cards on that missed Azcanta the Sunken Rune activation.
Yeah, 1/1 Lyra Baneslayer split is in Dan's sideboard. You have to like it in this kind of matchup.
Yes. Scry with Serum Visions there, put a land and a Snapcaster Mage on the bottom under Rest in Peace Snapcaster. Not the most powerful card. And the Jace the Mind Sculptor should do a good job of closing the game on its own. You don't really need to go for that 2-1.
Fate Seal from Dan.
Jace up on 9. It's getting mighty close to that ultimate. And Osborne, he's empty-handed, so that'll close the game very quickly.
Another miss on Azcanta from Lanthier. It's fine.
Right. Yeah, he
feels bad, but it'll work out.
Seen enough of his spells already.
Another card he can leave on top. Prized Amalgam for Trent. That'll get hit by Path to Exile. No more basics in Trent's deck. Got 2 mountains as his basic lands, both you see in play.
Yeah, Dredge, definitely a deck that goes light on basic lands.
The last Fate Seal here by Jace. And Dan's got some counters at the ready. Next turn we're going to get that Jace ultimate. Golgari Thug is not going to have much to say about it.
Nope.
And Dan will path it anyway. Draws -12 on the Jace. And Trent will pick him up. So we have a 3rd game here that's going to send one of these 2 to the top 8.
Yep. Saw a lot of the power of the sideboard for Lanthier there. Multiple Rest in Peace, really turning off Osborne's plan. So where we cut in, Osborne was doing some good work with the Ghost Quarter. Lanthier kind of got Rest in Peace just in time. Was able to maintain some white sources and start casting powerful spells there.
Some updates on our other win and ins. We do have Brandon Klein, our last undefeated player on Hardened Scales, picks up the win and therefore locks his spot into top 8. We also have Stefan Mazeroski defeating John Whetstone. So for John, our burn player, going to fall short in that last match. Stefan will see him in the top 8. And that means 2 spots remain. This is Dan Lanthier and Trent Osborne playing for one of them here. All right. Quick update here as they sideboard. Judge has awarded a 2-minute time extension before we join the match. So our clock here has been adjusted and now reflects the current game time.
Yep. 20 minutes should be sufficient for a Game 3. They can be grindy affairs, but Baneslayer Angel and Jace the Mind Sculptor, they have some closing power. And in games that Osborne is winning, generally they should be going pretty quick.
I do like just how much Dan's strategy can change after sideboard here. He just attacks on different angles. You see things like Rest in Peace to slow down the game early. That forces Trent to board in Maelstrom Pulses. Then Timely Reinforcements to gain some life. And if Trent navigates all that, then there still might just be a Lyra Dawnbringer or a Baneslayer Angel at the top.
Right.
All these things are answerable by Trent, but it feels like he can't miss answering any of them.
Yeah. And in particular, if you have that curve where you get the early Rest in Peace and Trent is just trying to get through with Blood Gas, Surprise Amalgam. Timely Reinforcements just is back-breaking. You just get to trade with every Blood Gas, or just a full Amalgam if you want to go that way. Gain some life for your trouble.
Trent will be on the play here for game number 3.
Pretty quickly taking a mulligan.
Wants nothing to do with that. Trent's deck can be fine, down a couple cards. Azorius Control less so. That's one of the... I mean, it'd like to keep all its cards, especially in a matchup like this. They actually has some pretty expensive cards he has to build up to.
Yeah. Dredge is one of the best decks in terms of mulliganing in Modern.
Yeah.
You're just looking for a discard outlet, Dredgers. In the sideboard games, it gets a little bit more fuzzy. You want to have answers for Rest in Peace. You want to have some play against the disruption that the Azorius deck is bringing. On the other side of the table, though, Azorius Control is a deck more than a lot of modern decks that just keeps 7-card hands. Like, it wants lands and spells because it needs to make a lot of land drops and it needs to cast a lot of spells. It doesn't really have much in the way of synergies. It's just trying to cast game-ending haymakers.
Interesting thing here, Ryan, with how the standings are broken up. Winner of this match is almost certainly going to get paired up against our Living End player in top 8.
Okay.
That was the matchup we saw Trent already play earlier.
Yeah, Dredge, not good against Living End, we found out.
No, Trent right now going to 5, though. If he wants to get that rematch, he's going to have to find a way here.
Lanthier seems to have a good spread of tools against Living End. We have Terminus, Counter Magic, Rest in Peace out of the sideboard.
I could see that. Yeah, the fact that his sweepers are things like Terminus and Settle the Wreckage feel pretty unfair on the Living End side of things.
Right? Yeah, when Terminus gets miracled, it's just such a feel bad. That effect's a little too powerful for 1 mana.
One of my favorite things, I always liked that the block constructor deck where all your cards had Miracle. Because at that point, you're just, you're going to get something real cheap, but you never know what it is.
Right. Pretty wide range of quality on that front.
Trent has kept on 5. We'll see what he can put together. See on Dan's hand, Lyra Dawnbringer in the opener, so that's something he's going to be building toward.
And with Osborne going so low and not starting on Faithless Looting, we'll see exactly what he even has to start going.
Yeah, something like just a turn 2 Cathartic Reunion with some Dredgers in hand could really make up the difference here.
Yeah.
As long as Dan doesn't just slam a Rest in Peace. and then we're in trouble.
Right. That one is tough. That one's tough on 7 cards.
We'll see a Thoughtseize. Let's get our first look at Dan's hand. And it'll be as follows. We have Search for Azcanta, Lyra Dawnbringer, Cryptic Command, Land 2, Opt, Mana Leak, and Surgical Extraction.
Pretty reasonable hand. These are relatively powerful spells. Surgical is weaker as Graveyard Hate than Rest in Peace, though against a 5-card hand, you're often enough able to just hit one thing, and the Surgical should be pretty backbreaking. The Ops can help find lands, help you cast those Cryptic Commands, get up to that Lyra Dawnbringer, and the Search for Azcanta also helps on that front as well.
Yeah, without the Opt and Search, I almost was going to say that Trent could try to take a line of just Dan missing land drops, but it seems unlikely to work here based on the amount of cantripping he has. Draws Field of Ruin, says go, holding up that Mana Leak. And Golgari Thug, the play from Trent. I'm not sure. If I'm Dan, I don't want a Mana Leak.
Yeah, find out if that one's worth a Mana Leak. Probably not.
I'd rather it be in play.
I assume that Lanthier will just take this opportunity to opt.
I mean, he's going to have to deal with these 1-mana hits from the Golgari Thug. Yeah, he'll let it resolve and then opt.
Pretty easy to undo all the damage of Golgari Thug with Lyra Dawnbringer. Not exactly a close damage race there.
Yeah. Picks up Hallowed Fountain, or Glacial Fortress, and then Snapcaster Mage. Has an opt in the graveyard for Snapcaster if you'd like it.
When Golgari Thug dies, it has to put a creature from your graveyard on top of your library. Is it another creature, or does it have to hit itself?
No, it's got to hit itself.
Because this attack into Snapcaster Mage on Op is kind of a disaster for Osborne if he makes it.
Unfortunately, it must target itself.
Oh, that is not good. This is horrendous.
Back when these Maze and cards are templated in weirder ways. Yeah, if this guy dies, it's not pretty.
It's not a fun one.
Here is Life from the Loam from Trent. Asks if it resolves. It's a good question here. Dan does have...
Do you want to surgical my Bloodstained Mire?
Yeah, he says no. Loam resolves. Trent will replay that land. That was an Arid Mesa. Cracks it. And now we'll surgical the Life from the Loam.
Hand is bloodgassed and driven to despair.
Seems a fitting card for what's going on right now. Is there just the one Loam?
I found a second copy in the deck, but usually see 4 of those floating around, I do believe.
Yeah, just the 2. There's 3 copies. Looks like Trent has boarded down to 2.
It's not the heaviest hitting dredge spell.
If you're trying to fight through a ton of graveyard hate post board, I could see being just not very relying on the card.
Yeah. And Osborne knew about the surgical. Not really much he could do about it.
And bloodgassed and driven to despair. So there is driven. And then he'll swing here Snapcaster Mage targeting. Is that surgical extraction he just tapped? Or is that opt? Golgari Thug dead. It's going to target itself. Will Lanthier extract it before it does? Yes, he will.
Yeah, it's kind of fine one way or the other. It seems like just letting Osborne redraw the Thug was a pretty solvable problem. And even flashing back on Despair to pair with that doesn't do too much. So Lanthier has already drawn the 4th land. He just needs to find one more. This hand is not bad. He has Cryptic Command already ready to go.
Negate.
And then just one more land, and then he's casting Lyra, and the game's pretty well over at that point. Here's Prized Amalgam. That's going to be Cryptic Commanded.
Yeah.
The counter draw. We'll see if a 5th land was produced. It looks like Logic not in Path to Exile, so not just yet. But also no real rush.
Right. He's still managed to keep Trent from establishing a board. Trent will go for Insolent Neonate. And Dan will go to work with Field of Ruin on that Blood Crypt. Response, I like this from Trent. Discards at Bloodghast to Insolent Neonate. And then he's going to Ghost Quarter his own land in response to Fizzle the ability. Doesn't really... And that's actually really nice. It's Stone Rain's Dan.
Yeah. I mean, Osborne knows about that Lyra Dawnbringer. He doesn't want Lanthier to have access to mana.
Yeah, that was nice. Path to Exile from Dan. He's got to decide which one he wants to see happen. He'll path away the Bloodghast, and then looks like Trent will get the Prized Amalgam. And that mountain found off the Path to Exile. We go back over to Lanthier. So the Field of Ruin play not working out entirely well for him.
Right. And it was pretty aggressive, you know. He already had his colors set up. He had 2 white sources and 3 blue sources.
Opt, he'll scry to the bottom. It feels like he's looking for lands now, but he has found one. It's an island, and he'll pass. Trent gets back. The prize, untaps prized with Prized Amalgam.
That's still really well covered by this Lyra Dawnbringer. There should be enough time to find that.
Right. Insolent Neonate's the play for Trent.
Don't really know that that one's worth a logic knot.
No, can't be mana leaked.
Could stone rain the gemstone mine if you mana leak.
I feel like Trent would accept that.
Right.
Tay swings in for 3, Dan's down to 13. And now just sacking it anyway to put Bloodghast in the graveyard and draw a card. Sure. But does he have the land? 3 mana. No, he can't. He can rewind this. I think he drew Prized Amalgam and was hoping to cast it.
Can't cast it. Yeah, Gemstone Mine is just a mana ability. Removing the counter isn't really activating anything meaningful. If you have it on Magic Online, you can just keep on putting it in your graveyard and taking it out. It's pretty funny.
Trent's going to Thoughtseize. Yeah, that's a way to get rid of Lyra Dawnbringer. And I'm kind of liking, Ryan, how do you feel about Counter Bounce as a play right now?
I would use any of my counter spells. Counter Bounce is pretty good. The Amalgam is not recastable.
Yeah, and that's the play. That's basically Counter Doomblade. He is many lands away from remaking that card.
Right.
And now, Dan, 1 land. There we go. There's Lyra. It was the game plan. Trent going to draw a card, and that's not an answer. He has Neonate, Prized Amalgam, Stinkweed Imp. Here's Neonate, desperately going to try to find a way to cast his cards. Puts Stinkweed Imp in the graveyard and dredges. Narcomoeba into play, Prized Amalgam, delayed trigger. We're doing things.
Yeah, you have a chump blocker.
Right.
You can attack back from the 5 lifelink with your 3/3.
Yeah. Lyra swings, and it will be a chump. Dan up to 18. Colonnade now online for Lanthier as well. And things are going to get tough. Amalgam can swing. Trent can't even cast these Stinkweed Imps to block with. He still is looking for black mana. Faithless Looting is going to be the flashback, and Dan will mana leak. He likes hoping the board can stay just like how it is.
Right. And even though Osborne's at 12, Lanthier has access to Celestial Colonnade. So 2 Lyra hits and a Colonnade will wrap this up in 2. Presumably just leave up counterspells. I believe he's still holding on to a Logic Knot. So this turn, attack with Lyra, Logic Knot, whatever happens. Next turn, fire up the Colonnade, come across the finish line.
He's got Trent down to 12. Here's Colonnade. Here's a swing for 9.
I guess Colonnade's vigilant, right? He made a land drop here, so he's still leaving
did.
up Logic Knot.
Up to 19, and that should wrap things up. Trent's going to take one last look at the hand. A pair of Winnians looking like they may fall short here for the Dredge player. And we're going to have a Celestial Colonnade deck into the top 8. It's going to be Azorius Control. Yeah, Stinkweed Imp going to get hit by Logic Knot, and that's going to do it. And his Hail Conflict, great. Cast the last card.
All right, let's see if we can figure this one out.
All right, it's the extending of the hand. And Dan Lanthier takes spot number 7 in the top 8 with his